I always teach my students, there's three things that we can control in the lab. That's pH, the osmolarity, and the temperature. So, and I'll give you a good example about that is that temperature is super important. Like I didn't know this until just, maybe like 4 or 5 years ago, that you can take a chicken egg away from the chicken, put it on the countertop, and like 10 days later, put it back in an incubator and it'll make a baby chicken. But I guarantee you that the eggs that I boiled for breakfast this morning, they're never going to make a baby chicken. So I always tell my students, if you're going to err on temperature, err on the cool side of things. If you get it too hot, you are doing more damage with more heat than you are with less heat. So, there's a window of forgiveness over here, but there's very little window of forgiveness on the other end of the spectrum. Osmolarity, that's basically measurement of the salts in the water, right? And all of our media has an osmolarity of around 265 to 280. That number doesn't really mean much to you. But if I were to tell you that the osmolarity of say pickle juice is around 1,000, now you get an idea of what that would be. Now I can take a cucumber and I can put it into my media, and I could probably take that cucumber and plant those seeds and still make baby cucumbers. But I'm pretty sure that those cucumbers that are pickles now inside my refrigerator, I can take those seeds out. They're never going to make baby cucumbers.
Yeah.
And so we do that to our media. A lot of embryologists, that's where you see some differences in different labs, is that they don't get some of these things right. So that's pH and temperature, osmolarity. pH, osmolarity, temperature. So pH is one of those things that you want it to be around 7.3. And if you don't have your CO2, you're not running your QCs right. If you don't trust your pH meter, your pHs could be off. And so like my CO2, it might be at a different level than what you need in Ontario, right? So different elevations require different pHs. So always, they say, get your pH, nail it, and make sure you get all those others right. So all of that's important, because if you don't get those things, so it doesn't matter if you work in a super clean, less than 100 parts per billion room, if your pH is off, your osmolarity is off. Now, something that we've done to save money for the patients is that, and I started this about probably almost 10 years ago. Actually, 20 years ago, I came to work in San Antonio, and our HVAC, the air filtration system, was always shutting down. And of course, I was trained under the guidance of like Jacques Cohen and Klaus Wiemer, who invented all of these air filtration systems. We did their testing in our lab in Charlotte, North Carolina, where I used to work. And I noticed my pregnancy rates never dropped if the HVAC went down. So when we built the Pozitif labs, I actually said, let's not put air filtration in there. And our pregnancy rates are just as good as they ever have been. Same embryologist, same doc, of course, starting out. So we have a really good baseline. There's no differences there. The only difference is air. And, that being said, I do have really good equipment. I have very good countertops that are very low VOCs. I am purposely trying to drop those VOCs, volatile organic compounds, by getting good labware in the lab. I'm not just building it in a closet with, Formica countertops and things. So I've done air testing, and my VOC levels are right there around where the Cairo consensus. I would imagine if you tested the room and the air in your office, is probably around 300 to 500 parts per billion. Only if you're working like in a genomics lab, or not a genomics lab, but like a paint lab, or if you went into a Sherwin-Williams paint store, the VOCs might be high, or My own home has 200 parts per billion, and that's with dogs and cats and things like that running around. So our pregnancy rates are great. So I think that if you have good air going in, you probably don't need that. But if you have poor quality air, maybe in Manhattan, you might
Right.
need some of those things.
Bigger city.
I live, San Antonio is the 7th largest city in the U.S. Here in Houston, I don't have an HVAC system. I'm on the 10th floor of our building, and our pregnancy rates are 65%. They're as good as anyone else in the country. I'm not going to say I'm better than anybody, but they're as good as anybody else's.
Yeah. Well, I think it's fascinating to not have to think about those things, but varying degrees of where you live and where your clinic is would impact some of those decisions.